Hey there, this is Mario, and in this video you're going to learn how to bulk using intermittent fasting. So there's a lot of different forms of intermittent fasting out there. So there's the alternate day fast, for example, when you don't eat anything for a day and then you eat whatever you want the next day, or even like 2 days you don't eat anything, then on the third day you stuff your face, whatever you want. And also there's the most famous one, lately at least, the one where you fast for 16 hours and then you ate for 8 hours. So you have that 8-hour eating window with a 16-hour fast. So that's also called Leangains, very famous protocol advocated by Martin Berkhan in the beginning of 2000s. And it is still one of the most famous ways people do the intermittent fasting. And I also use this protocol. So that's the one I'm going to be referring to the most in this video. There's many different benefits as well to intermittent fasting. I mean, a lot of people will enjoy the clear mind, the focus it gives you, especially when you don't have to think about food anymore. You just think about having 2 or 3 meals. It's a lot more natural for most people to skip breakfast and then just eat that first meal, open up the window, and then have a second bigger meal in the afternoon after training, or that feast. If the first meal is after training, then you have a bigger meal then. I mean, it's a lot more natural for most people. And another benefit, obviously, is that you simply can adhere to your eating less food much easier when you're in a cut. So when you're doing an intermittent fasting protocol, people tend to have a lot less problems with hunger, and I noticed that myself. And if I'm doing intermittent fasting, I can stick with 2 or 3 meals a day. I will most likely not feel hungry at all, right? Because you just train your body to just eat at a certain time of the day. And that's all good. And also there's the autophagy benefit and a lot of different kinds of benefits. But what happens when you have that time constraint of 8 hours when you're trying to bulk, right? When you try to gain weight, when you try to gain muscle specifically, and your body demands a lot of calories, a lot of energy, right? So that 8 hour becomes a problem because you have a time constraint. You have to consume all of those calories in a tight window, right? So when it comes to bulking, first thing I want to make something clear is that there's really no bulking if you have experience in the gym. The only person who can really bulk is a very skinny guy, just starting out, never lifted anything in his life, and he's just kind of force-feeding the gains with lifting a couple of times a week and also eating a lot. So that's the kind of person that can bulk. If you're like skinny fat, or if you're just coming into like a regular guy who's like kind of in between, if you're coming into this kind of lifting game, into this bodybuilding world, probably a better idea for you is to go on a cut. So that's just something to make it clear, is that there's really no bulk unless you're that person who's really skinny, kind of that hard gainer, who have issues with gaining muscle mass, with eating enough calories. Because I mean, these people do exist, and I actually have a client right now who's about 150 pounds and he has to eat about 4,000 calories to gain any weight, right? It's really difficult for him. And you can call them neat freaks. I mean, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, like fidgeting a lot, moving around a lot, tapping their foot on the floor. I mean, these things, these guys burn calories unconsciously. They don't even know about it. So there's definitely a population out there who need to eat a lot. But for most guys that are lifting for like a year or two, if you have some experience with the gym, or if you're coming back from, let's say, a big break, you didn't lift for a while, most likely that you should be, what you should be after is really getting leaner. And in that case, I mean, intermittent fasting works amazing if you decide to do it. For most people, it works really good with having that 8-hour window. But let's go back to bulking. So if you're trying to bulk and you have that experience in the gym, you want to look at what your genetic potential is. Like, what are the averages that people can gain per year, per month, per week? And then you want to look at that to make sure that you're not overeating. Because that's the biggest mistake I see people make when they're quote-unquote bulking, is that they're repeating that same kind of caloric intake, that bulk they did in the beginning, but now it's just going to result in a lot more fat gain because your muscle can't grow as fast anymore. Like, you won't be able to build as much muscle in the year 2 or year 3 or year 4 of training as you build in the first year of training, obviously, right? They don't call them newbie gains for nothing, right? So you want to look at the averages, and let's say for someone who's lifting intelligently for a year and a half and then trying to kind of gain, that would be about, I think about 12 pounds per year, so a pound per month. That would be kind of the effect. And let's say someone who has 2 or 3 years of experience, it's probably going to be about half a pound per month. It's not going to be a lot of weight that you're aiming to gain, and that will automatically determine your caloric intake, right? So if you shoot up that intake, if you shoot up that will just go into fat, right? Nutrition is permissive, right? It gives your body permission to grow. Once the body has permission to grow, anything above that will simply get stored as fat. So that's something just to clear up before we dive into the specific food recommendations and all these things that you can do to kind of hack your way into bulking using intermittent fasting, is that you want to make sure that you have the appropriate caloric intake in the first place so you don't overshoot your intake and end up getting a lot more fat than you want. So going into that, and for the caloric intake and the macros and all of that, I'm going to leave a couple links in the description below so you guys can check those out. They explain to you how you can set up your diet, low fat versus low carb, how much protein, how to calculate your calories and all these things. So what is the biggest difference between a bulk and a cut? Well, the thing is that you want to look at is how many grams of macros are you going to use when you're bulking, right? So protein, let's look at that, because it's the most important macro for guys looking to build muscle. And on a bulk, you typically need less protein than on a cut, right? Because you have an abundance of calories. Your body is not in danger. It's not going to break down muscle protein for energy. So in that way, there's really no need to eat more than a gram per pound, right? So a gram per pound for you guys using the American system, but for Europeans, it's probably about 2 grams per kilo, right? So if you get that amount of protein, anything above that is an overkill. It's not gonna be used, and it's just gonna make your diet a lot harder to get those calories, because protein is not very rich in calories. In general, I mean, it is 4 calories per gram, but you also wanna take into consideration that it's a lot of volume, and it's not the best food for bulking, because it's a lot of volume. It also has a lot of atomic effect of food, which is resulting that it's a little bit less than 4 calories per gram, right? So going further from protein, now that you have your protein, you go into your carbs, and for carbs, there's a lot of benefits of going hard carb, especially for someone looking for performance. If you're doing multiple sports and if you're lifting at the same time, if you're doing a lot of endurance type of work, a lot of benefits to adding extra carbs. But for most people, guys who are just lifting in the gym, I say 3 to 4 times a week, or no, like 5 or even 6 times in a week, you don't need to go super high on carbs. So anything about 400 grams a day, it's just gonna go to waste. And it's gonna make your life harder to get those calories, especially if you wanna do intermittent fasting, which is kind of what we're dealing with here. So if you have that 8-hour window, you don't wanna overshoot any macro that doesn't provide you with a lot of calories, right? And then that brings us to the last macro, and that is fat, which is gonna be the thing that you're gonna be utilizing the most when you're trying to bulk using intermittent fasting. This is the only way to really get those calories in, because 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. I mean, you can go low fat, but it's probably gonna result in a lot of puking, a lot of hard times. It's really gonna be hard for you to maintain that caloric intake enough to make a difference. So when I say higher fat, I mean like about 30-35% of your caloric intake will be coming from fat. Might be even higher than that, right, for some guys, because you really don't need more than 400 grams of carbs, as we said. And then for all the rest of the stuff, you can simply put it into fat. So now that we have the macros figured out, so you have that protein, you have those carbs, then you put everything else into fat, and whatever that amount is, where do you get it from? That's the question, like where do you get your fat from? Well, here's my recommendations that I give to guys who are looking to bulk up, who are looking to make their life easier and for maintaining consistency with getting those calories within 8 hours. So first off, let's start off with simple cooking oil. So olive oil. So instead of cooking with, let's say, half a tablespoon of olive oil and a cut, why not cook with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, right? Meal is gonna be looking and tasting much better. Probably is gonna taste a hell of a lot better with a lot of olive oil in it. And another thing is that you can use this oil to also dress up all your salad, right? So instead of relying on commercially prepared and bought and like with a lot of preservatives, those like salad dressings would probably have a lot of trans fat and all these things. That's the only nutrient that I would say that really you should avoid, is a lot of trans fat. So olive oil would be my personal choice to add those extra calories. I mean, this thing has about 160 calories per tablespoon. So it's a lot, right? So it's gonna be making your life a lot easier to add more of this to your salad dressing. And one simple one, if you don't know how to dress your salad, olive oil, a little bit of vinegar, and some salt. 3 ingredients, right? It's gonna taste amazing. So now that we kind of covered that, that's a very easy way to get calories. The second thing is that you want to base your salad on high calorie density foods, right? So instead of relying on green lettuce, on like cucumbers and things like that, or like celery, or like spinach and things. I mean, I'm not saying that those things are bad, but you want to limit the amount of those kind of foods, and you want to rely more on higher caloric foods, such as avocados. So avocado is a perfect example of the type of food that you want to include in your salad, because it offers high fiber, but it offers a lot of fat as well, extremely healthy fat, and a lot of calories coming from that fat. So avocado is a perfect choice for a salad. So now that you have that, another thing that you can do with this salad is also you can add some nuts to it, right? You can break in some nuts, add that as well, or as a snack, or add to your salad. That's a pretty good way to get some of extra fat, some extra calories. My personal choice of nuts is almonds, as you can see here. Another thing that I would really like to add is pumpkin seeds. Amazing source of fat, amazing source of like nutrients like zinc, magnesium. You're gonna love this thing. So just add this to your diet. One really cool recipe that if you're looking for a recipe to get your calories fast. So if you have a blender, you add, let's say you add some almonds, you add some chia seeds, you add some pumpkin seeds, you can add some rice milk and some chocolate milk and a scoop of whey protein. It's gonna be amazing, right? So you add all of that, tastes like heaven, right? So that's a very fast way to get your calories because you can just drink them. Another thing that I use is, surprise, chocolate, right? Very easy and very enjoyable way to get your calories, because this thing has about 550 calories per 100 grams, right? It's a lot of calories and it makes your diet a lot more enjoyable, very easy to consume. Let's say I'm gonna eat one of these per day. So instead of, let's say 3,500 calories, if I eat one of these per day, I'm left with only 3,000, which it's a lot easier to get if you're just applying all of these principles to your diet. So in 3 meals, let's say I have maybe 30 grams of chocolate after each meal, bam, problem solved. And chocolate also has a lot of cocoa. I choose dark chocolates to here, 70% cocoa. So I choose these because they have a lot of benefits in terms of like just stimulating your brain, stimulating your performance, like a little bit of caffeine. You know, it's pretty good before training as well. If you're having that meal before training, you hit the gym, then you do quite well. In general, all this intake here of higher fat will help you also maintain your mental performance, which is a big benefit with fat because it's slowing down digestion of the food enough so you don't have those energy spikes, right? You don't have those insulin spikes that will create that brain fog effect, which a lot of guys you probably experienced after like a high carb meal, like a very rich meal in carbs. Like let's say you grab a pizza and then you stuff your face with like orange juice, and then you just go out and you simply can't have enough energy to do anything, right? So that's kind of the way, out of these here, the foods that you see here, that's my preferred foods. And also one final one that I want to mention is the hazelnut butter. So my favorite, compared to peanut butter, I really like this one. And I tried almond butter as well, but not as tasty as this. So I really like hazelnut butter. I add this a lot. I mean, a tablespoon or 2 of this. It's a lot of calories, a lot of enjoyable calories as well. And if you're, for example, looking for protein sources on a bulk, I would say that I rely primarily on very high fat protein sources. So one thing comes to mind, salmon, like very high fat fish. Second thing, beef, like pork, like beef and pork. If you don't eat pork, then rely on beef. Other things, instead of going for chicken breast, you can just go for chicken legs, right? So you get a lot of extra calories from there. Also adds a little bit of variety to your diet, right? So it's not just the bland chicken breast diet. Other things that you can add is full fat cheese. Pretty amazing. Like if you add some goat cheese to your diet, I mean, it has a lot of fat, but it also has a lot of high quality protein. And these would be kind of the hacks that you need to just think about when you're going in a bulk on an intermittent fasting diet, because you're looking for that high density of calories, right? So for carbs, instead of using rice or bread, I'm gonna rely mostly on the oats, because oats offer me 8 grams of fat per 100 grams, a lot of carbs, a lot of good stuff, right? So I'm gonna rely mostly on oats, and that's gonna be my primary source of carbs on a bulk. Additionally, one thing just to kind of put out there is that you don't want to fall in the trap of eating too much of high volume, low calorie foods. So I know I say a lot, eat a lot of salad, a lot of these things, but you want to keep an eye on and really moderate the amount. So primarily you want to focus on getting in the calories first. And you'll notice that your fiber will be satisfied, your needs for fiber will be satisfied if you just get a lot of your carbs from fruit, a lot of them from avocados, get in some oats. You know, it's just gonna have a variety of fiber, and it's gonna be enough, and probably even more than enough, to keep your gut healthy and to keep everything operating properly. So that would be kind of my recommendations. And also things like whey protein, I don't really use on a bulk because it's much easier and much more enjoyable to get my protein from like beef or like any like higher fat meat sources like salmon. So I'm gonna often have some salmon sandwiches with like hazelnut butter. You know, it's very high fat, but it's also very, very enjoyable, and I can get in my calories and I don't have to rely on supplements, right? And in the worst case scenario, you can simply get a gainer supplement, or what I would recommend even more is get some whey protein, but then blend some oats, right? Very easy way to get a gainer supplement, right? Blend oats and add some whey protein, add some of this other good stuff like chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, and blend that together with some milk or rice milk or chocolate milk or oat milk, hazelnut milk, almond milk, any type of milk you choose, and it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna taste fantastic, much, much better, much healthier than like a gainer supplement, which is probably like the lowest quality food put together and just to maximize profit, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some cool ideas on what to do when you're trying to bulk using intermittent fasting protocol. I would say it's not the most ideal way to bulk. I'd say the most ideal way to bulk would definitely be have the majority of your meals spread around throughout the day, maybe 3-4 meals, but spread them out a little bit more to get more of those muscle protein synthesis spikes from food. And that would be the most ideal way, but it's definitely doable with intermittent fasting. There's really no excuse. If you want to stick to IF, just apply these guidelines. You're gonna get the benefits. You're gonna be able to stay in the diet. Once again, it's not my personal choice when I bulk, but I respect everybody's choices. So if you want to go for it, go higher fat. You're gonna love it. You're gonna make the diet a lot more enjoyable, and you can have some delicious desserts along the way because it allows you to have a lot of calories. You can enjoy some cheesecakes and all these things, which is very high calories, pretty enjoyable, especially if you homemade like high fat cheesecake. I mean, it's pretty fucking awesome. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions in this, or if you just want to leave a comment, make sure to post something below. Let me know what you think about the intermittent fasting bulk, and if you're planning to do one soon using intermittent fasting, or you're just on a plan, do it like a normal meal frequency, 3 to 4 meals a day. And once again, if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to share it with your friends if they're doing intermittent fasting, if they're planning on doing a bulk. And subscribe to the channel as well to support the channel, growing pretty fast. And I want to thank everybody for being a part of this community. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Yeah.